Hey everybody, I'm live with Aaron Robinson, guitarist of Blood of Angels from Tampa, Florida. I was at melodic death metal band. So starting off, tell us about yourself, tell us about Blood of Angels. You've only been around, was it since 2015? How did the
Yeah,
band
we started
form?
right on. No, we started at about 20 in 2015. Originally, it was basically after the demise of my former band that I had for 8 years, Foreshadow. Um, and originally, it was going to be just an idea of I just to do a studio project, mostly just release recordings and do videos and things like that. So I started working with studio musicians up in the Jacksonville, Florida area, and then of course, as life happens, people move on. So it was the first EP, Rise of the Fallen Gods, was originally intended to be a full length album. Not, I mean, we covered the Norse mythology in the three songs that we released, but we were also supposed to go into Greek mythology and Celtic mythology, and those other things as well. So, but some of the other, my drummer at the time, Kevin, he had a situation with his fiance where he promised he was going to move up to Massachusetts, further north in the country. My bass player, ended up getting married and went back to his home state in North Carolina, and so distance started becoming an issue. So I just left it as the original EP, and we won some independent music awards. The Independent Music Award in New York, the Academia in LA, and the International Music and Entertainment Awards. Those changed locations regularly. At the time, it was in Kentucky. And then I started, and as I was starting to write this next album that is coming out October 6th, The Failure of Faith, um, I started getting a lot of interest from management and record companies and booking agents and things like that, due to the success of the awards and some good critics. So we signed a record deal. We got with management with David Adkins. He's been fantastic, and some booking agencies and stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, I really need to put together a band. So I gathered some of my friends in the Tampa metal scene who've been underground and grindcore and death metal for a long time. And we've always been friends for a while, so the chemistry was just very natural. And then we went in the studio here in Tampa, Master Sounds, with Preston DiCarlo, who's been a pretty known underground producer for death metal and punk music. And we did The Failure of Faith, and we're very happy for it. We're very excited.
Yeah. So that's the new album coming out in October. That's a Failure of Faith. I noticed
Yes,
you've got
sir.
like talking about gods in the first EP, and you're talking about failure of faith. Is that one of the sort of lyrical themes that you go for? Gods and atheism, maybe, or irreligious? How would you describe your lyrical kind of stance?
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is at the present time. The Failure of Faith, basically. The album is kind of a two-part breakdown. The first half of the album is basically the historical beginning of the ideology of the singular God concept, with the monotheism, and then I basically really just focus on the three main religions globally of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in its chronological order on how they were developed. Um, each song kind of questions really the legitimacy of their existence. And then on the second half of the album, I basically go through the parts, through main historical parts on how those religions have really divided and separated humanity based on historically can easily be perceived as falsehoods, sold to humanity as actual history. And into the final conclusion of the end of the song, the end of the album, the final song I have is America's Mythologies, which I would bring up three homegrown religions in my country, main ones, of course. There are many others, but I went through Mormonism, Scientology, and Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. So is that something that's interested you then? Just the rise of religion and the way religions are followed? Is it something that annoys you, or something that just interests you?
Yeah, it's very much an interest of mine, and has been for pretty much most of my life. I've read a lot of the religious texts, and I've also read, a lot of the university and theological college professors and things like that that have done the historical research to basically say, well, no, that didn't exactly,
Yeah.
the Wailing Wall isn't exactly the Wailing Wall from King David. It's actually, was done by the Roman occupation in Judea. We have carbon dating to prove it. The Shroud of Turin, no, that didn't really wrap up Jesus. That was a 12th century forgery. No, that one
Yeah.
part of Josephus in Roman history saying that Jesus came in, well, that was actually like a 10th century added to the reprint of Josephus text to try to bring legitimacy to Christianity.
Yeah.
The Quran, the first Quran, even though Muhammad died in 550 AD, the first one was never seen the light of day until 590 AD. Why the 40-year gap? These are the questions I always pose. And even when I have asked these questions to myself for my own knowledge, to some of these people that are deep in the religion, they have no answers either.
No. But they still continue to believe.
To me, I mean, part of the reason of the album is as far as us as human beings go in our development. I cannot see, and I mean, of course, it's my own perspective, so I'm speaking that way. I cannot see how we will be able to go further forth into the future to be able to take care of ourselves, to evolve, to go into our planet, if we're still clinging on to mythological and moral ideas from the Bronze Age. It just doesn't fit our development. It's just time to let these go and to look towards astrophysics and I mean and I know these are complicated subjects, and religion is easy to understand. You follow your rules, you pray every day, you get to go to a good place when you die. Where astrophysics is very complicated, but the universe is very complicated.
Yeah, but yeah, science over belief kind of thing, proof over beliefs.
Proof over belief. I would, fact over belief. That's what I mean. I've gotten arguments with people. They say, it's like, well, these are just your opinions, and I was like, it's my whole thing. I don't really have belief. I either know or I don't know. And if I don't know, then I seek the sources that I do know. And like science, it's good, or archaeology or anthropology, it's within those fields. It's also good to go, we don't know, not yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to research and we're going to find out the truth. And that's way more honest than going, we are certain that this is how it is. But as time goes on, those religious certainties obviously have given way to falsehoods.
Yeah, it's like the God of the gaps argument. Just because we don't know what it is doesn't mean it's God.
Exactly. It's a very simple case. So I mean, that's kind of the point of the album on that side. Probably if I had a PhD on the subject, I probably would have wrote a book.
was you
but
raised?
I love metal and I'm a musician, so this is what I did.
Yeah. Was you raised in religion? Is this something that you were raised in and you've sort of realized for yourself that you don't believe it and that's why you're singing about it? What made it the focus for your albums?
No, I wasn't raised in religion per se. My parents were. My mom was raised in Judaism, and she comes from immigrant Jewish family. She was first generation. And my father, was total Catholic growing up. The catechism, the altar boy, that was my dad. As they got older and basically went through university and college, they kind of broke apart from their religions as they became adults, but they were on an agnostic path. Like, they did believe in God, they just thought all the organized religions were ridiculous. Of course, just a little family tidbit, my father worked in China for 6 years. He was a marine engineer, and and basically living and working in China very steadily for that period of time, he was exposed to a lot of Buddhism. And it just really just kind of opened up his mind at that time, going, how are these, why is Christianity correct? Why are these people not right? Because all I see of these people, they're very peaceful, and I mean, everything is like, if you want to join us, you're welcome. If not, go in peace. And that is the attitude. Why are they the blasphemers? It didn't make any sense to them either.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's talk more about the band then. So how did you form? You say you won a competition, was that you were saying? You appeared on a competition?
Well,
So,
no, I mean we won a few awards for our EP, the
all
Rise of
right.
the Fallen Gods. Yeah.
How did that come about then? Was you just spreading it out there, sending it out to labels and that, or was there a competition that you entered to win, or how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I came across the websites,
Right,
for these awards. Some of them were recommended to me from other musicians, and I just went ahead and submitted music.
right,
Figuring why not, and it turned out to be very good for us.
cool.
We basically came we won quite a few awards for it, so it was
That's
pretty good for three different organizations.
that's cool. And so, is that how Slip Trick Records discovered you through that, or how did you come to get the deal with Slip Trick?
Slip Trick was we hired a publicist at the time, Wes Jacquez here in the States. There's companies called Metal Coffee Public Relations,
Yeah.
and he shopped. He believed in us from the get go, and he shopped us a bit. So that's how we came across Slip Trick Records.
All right, and they just signed you up for just the one album, or
Yeah, just the one album is the contract I have for right now.
yeah, is that because that's what you wanted to stick it to, or was it like was only one album offered?
It was that was the offer for right now.
Right.
I mean, the contingency to extend the contract into others, depending, of course, how the results of this one,
Yeah,
how well this one does. But yeah, that's how it is. It was
and
just the one album for right now.
that's coming out early next month. So, is there any plans to how are you going to sort of get it out there? Because obviously, at the moment, no one's doing any live gigs or anything like that, are they? So, how are you going to get it out to people?
Well, I mean, I'm doing wonderful interviews with you on this show, and
Yeah.
as many shows as we can. Actually, just on the current issue on Legacy Magazine, that has a fellow grindcore gods, Napalm Death, is on the cover of the magazine. We're in this month's issue, and that's German language metal magazine over in
Right.
Germany. So we got it out there. We're in the compilation there. We got an article coming up in Metal Hammer Portugal,
Cool.
and just getting as much as possible. We are starting to do some shows here, mostly, of course, locally. They've opened up the bars a bit to 50% capacity.
Yeah.
With social distancing and everything. So we got quite a few shows lined up. Right now, we're looking to hit the road in the States in May.
Right.
And we're hoping to follow that up with possibly Europe next summer, depending on how things happen. But yeah, so far, that's what's on the table.
Before it came along, the COVID, had you done quite a lot of gigs in support of the EP previously?
No, actually, we really haven't. We had a tour schedule for this year. We were going to do basically like 5 different tours throughout different parts of the U.S. And of course, all 5 of those tours got canceled.
Yeah, that's a bugger. So what's it like? I mean, so did you tour with your previous band? Is there a good scene? Is there a good tour itinerary that you can get on, or because I've heard a lot of places now haven't got so many bars and that. It's quite. What's it like in Florida? Because Florida, of course, is like great death metal tradition. What's it like there for actual gigs now?
Here in Florida per se,
and the rest of the country as well for whatever tour you're gonna. I mean, have you got all the dates arranged for the tour yet, or
not completely? We got a couple of festivals we may be looking to doing. The Toledo Death Fest in Toledo, Ohio, possibly Rocklahoma.
right.
Yeah, but it's pretty big. That's a pretty big one here in the States to be a part of. So I mean, we're really exciting about that possibility. Yeah, I mean, other venues. I mean, decent sized clubs. I mean, there's still quite a few out there. Some of them are not necessarily dedicated to metal. It's just a music, venue.
Yeah.
Completely. So, I mean, a lot of those are still going. Seems to still be going strong.
And you say you've got someone who's arranging the gigs for you, or is that?
Yeah. We're with those. We're working with Keith Wampler. He's with the Legend agency,
Right?
And he's currently our booking agent.
How does that work? Do they get a percentage of of your fees from whoever the gig you're doing the gig for? Or do you pay them like an amount for them to sort out your tours for you? How does a booking agency work exactly? I've never Never been too familiar with that.
Well, with our agency arrangement with him, we pay him a monthly fee, and
No.
and then he books and sorts out the tours and everything, and lets us know what the guarantees are, etc.
Right. And do you tend to get like the guarantees are normally met, or do you get like a lot of venues trying to rip you off or anything like that? What's it like there? Is it a bit cutthroat, or is it kind of like if you got a contract, it's normally stuck to?
It's gotten better.
Mm.
Originally when I gigged out before. Usually the smaller venues and the bars, all of a sudden, sometimes the owner would disappear, and you can't find him anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, since we've had getting like good like opening opportunities with some more reputable bands and getting into more professional like venues, I mean, we really haven't had the problem with the guarantees getting met.
Right. So you've actually had some gigs with some big bands, have you? Got some good support slots.
Oh, some, yeah.
Anyone would have heard of?
Mushroom Head. We did a few
Oh,
shows with them before.
okay. Yeah, I think I've heard
6
the
Feet
name.
Under.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not a bad one to get on.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Does there like, because obviously with the Florida death metal scene being so huge back in the day, is there like a badge of honor to be like a death metal band from Florida, even though you're more melodic? Is there like people look up to like the Florida scene still, or is that kind of all died off now?
No, I mean, I feel it's a badge of honor. When we travel like outside and we play outside the state, we say that we're from Tampa, and I mean, I think it still has a certain reverence.
Yeah.
With metal fans, anywhere it's like, oh. So as far as the scene goes, it's pretty strong. Of course, it wasn't what it was in the heyday in the late '80s and the '90s, where many of the bands from here, that everybody knows, Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Morbid Angel, etc. But the scene is still really strong. We got about 3 really good venues in the area that are very supportive of metal and metal bands, and people do come out. It's better than a lot of other cities.
Is the death metal scene the strongest genre there, or amongst all the metal genres of bands? Is death metal like the mainstay of the bands from Florida?
Yeah, death metal, deathcore. I would say also the metalcore stuff.
Right. And what about the old studios, the Morris Sound? Is that still running? Is people still going there and recording?
No, Morris Sound is gone. Actually, the current space is as last that I know of is run by the guys Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Right.
Yeah, they own the studio space now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who do that used to be in Savatage. So.
I see. Okay. Because I remember there was an old documentary on the Florida death metal scene. There's all these bands in garages, all like different garages had different bands practicing in. Is that still like a scene there? Lots of bands practicing in garages, or you go to a proper recording studio for your practicing, or a lot of people as well do stuff online. Was you like recording online or doing anything from your own during the COVID? Were you like sending riffs to like a band member somewhere else, or was you able to actually get together and do some actual practice?
Oh, we haven't really skipped. We've been getting together and still doing practices. I mean, our drummer has a house, so and he's got basically an area in his home he's soundproofed and everything, because he's also a studio engineer and a live sound guy too. So he made like a really cool room. So I mean, we've been jamming in there. We've all been pretty healthy and pretty good, and so we still get together for face-to-face practices.
Yeah, there's no worries about that. What's it been like, the corona in your area? Has it been very hard hit?
It's been hard hit, but we haven't really had the greatest leadership in that. I'm sure you hear a lot of things, how things are really divided politically in the United States. And of course, the coronavirus issue is no exception.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that here that are refusing to wear masks, and they still believe it's a hoax. But I mean, we were in lockdown for, I'd say, about like a month and a half, and from March to like middle April, and now the restaurant's open and things, but of course the tables are far apart and separated. Unless you're sitting at the table, you have to wear a mask. So it hasn't. I mean, it hasn't been as terrible as I would say a lot of places, though. But I think if we don't lead the country, I think we're close to it. Definitely in the top 3 with infections in Florida. Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a lot of, like, we were talking about the religion before. There's a few religious kind of like people that I've seen have like said that COVID has gone because they've talked to God and God's got rid of it for them and that kind of thing. And then have you seen that? I can't remember what his name was now. One of these prosperity preachers, like he's more interested in money than actually preaching, I think. And he was praying. He said he's prayed away COVID and God had spoken to him and said that it was gone now. And that was like about 3 months ago, and nothing's changed. So you're not aware of him?
Yeah, I have heard of it, and and my state is really notorious for organizations like that. Yeah, we really have a lot of fanatical evangelical churches, in Florida. Your typical, and I know that in the UK you've been exposed to some of our best citizens, Billy Graham in the past, and from the mid 20th century, but mostly like a lot of his disciples. They're everywhere around here, and a lot of the nonsense they preach is pretty dangerous.
Is that one of the reasons that you've sort of done the lyrics that you've done on the second album? Is that one of the influences for it, to kick back against that kind of thing?
Yes, one of the reasons. Yeah.
You also did a Motorhead cover as well. Want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, actually, I wanted to do a Motorhead song because this is really the first album since the great Lemmy Kilmister passed, and of course, I'm a big fan of Motorhead. A lot of us metalheads are. We wouldn't have the extreme metal, or actually the bands that have come from the Tampa scene if it wasn't for initially what Motorhead has done. And but I wanted to do a Motorhead song, but I wanted to find one that fit what we were doing, on the album, like what the theme was going. So I went around through my Motorhead playlist, and I was like, okay, the song "Don't Need Religion," Iron Fist, and the lyrics, and I'm like, what, this is perfect. This really is. So I got a hold of an organization that helps with licensing, and I paid my fee, and it's a fun song to do, and you can see, like, when we play live, like, you can see like the age demographics a little bit. It's like, because you got people like in their their late 30s, 40s and 50s. They hear the song, some of them know it, and are singing along to it. They're headbanging to it, and some of the younger people are just like, this sounds really old. I was like, but it's you got to love the history of metal. When
it comes to Motorhead, it's normally Ace of Spades. I've heard of like a million covers of Ace of Spades. Black metal bands, the thrash bands, all doing that.
Yeah, well, I guess doing the hit will get you attention, but it's just the song was just perfect lyrically for the album itself, and it really sums it up. And I know, and Lemmy being, of course, I never met him personally, but I mean. But from being such a fan and such a reader of his interviews, and and seeing him in documentaries, everything he wrote was truly honest. And that's also what I loved about it. It's him being really, he said numerous times, in his older years, like, I'm too old to find God. And
most metalheads thought he was God, didn't they?
That's fine by me. I don't know, a lot better than the God in the religious text. I'll tell you that right now. The Jack Daniels, the Marlboro Reds, the amphetamines, the strippers. It works.
The rumble of the bass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Rickenbacker with a through a Marshall stack. I mean, and his style of singing as well. His style is dress, his attitude. You
Yeah.
either take me or you fucking don't, and I don't give two shits either way. And yeah, that to me, that's what sums up the heart and spirit of metal. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you either understand or you either get the music or you don't. In my opinion, I mean, I don't give two shits either way. I'm not gonna, I don't, I hear from, other people, non-metal people. Oh, well, the lyrics, I don't understand what they're saying. I'm like, really? You understand what AZ raps about? I don't understand a freaking word that guy says.
Or they say, I like the music, but I don't like the singing.
I'm sorry?
I like the music, but I don't like the singing. Why can't I sing normally?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, it's the same thing. You either get it or you don't, and don't care less either way.
Would you say the last album was a concept album? It's kind of like a concept, but maybe not sort of fleshed out. But did you say it was a concept, or just similar themes, or from song to song?
It was. I mean, it kind of told a little bit of a story. I would say. The mystery and detail, low key, basically how he, the song a little bit how he negotiated in, Norse mythology with, the Ogre King for the Ogre King to, manipulate Mary Freya and all that. The second part, Odin's wrath, of course, Odin and, his anger about that. And then the final war is really kind of, the legend of Thor battling the Midgard serpent.
Yeah.
And of course, and concept albums is really kind of my thing. I really love things that really kind of stay, around a centralized theme. I mean, one of the bands, I growing up, and of course, I'm a big fan of Merciful Fate and especially, and the albums like Abigail and Them and and the Eye and just basically, especially the Eye. I mean, all the songs, going around about the Salem witch trials and everything. Yeah, I just love albums like that. Cradle of Filth, more recent, who does albums of that concept, especially Damnation in a Day, which I think is a true masterpiece. And I love albums like that. So and I love to write that way myself.
So are you the only lyric writer in the band, or do any of the other guys sort of chip in with ideas as well?
I'm the main lyric writer, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about, have you got any concept planned for, have you been writing new material? Now, this album's not out yet, but you've had a lot of downtime, like while the COVID's been on. Have you had a chance to, come up with any new concepts maybe for the next release?
I've had thoughts basically. I've never really started sitting down and writing yet. I've just been really focused on, practicing these songs in our set and getting ready for shows and hopefully when the COVID's up, getting on tour and really just focusing on that right now. But the ideas I've been kicking around, one of them is explore more of an anthropological thing, exploring different death rituals.
Okay.
From around the world, ideas of different cultural ways of passing on the funeral ritual, things like that. I've come across things like there's some amazing things that happen mostly in the Asian continent when it comes to passing on and passing away, especially like in Indonesia, like how they preserve some village that preserves the bodies, and then there's this day of the year where basically they unwrap the bodies and the whole family pays homage to those who have passed, that since they've mummified them, basically they're still there, and it's a whole day celebration and how they look at death. And I'm thinking that would be a very fascinating subject to research and to tackle.
Yeah, I quite like the is it sky burials? I think it's Tibetan sky burials where they put the body out and they let the vultures just eat the body. Have you heard of those?
I have not, but I'm going to look into that. That's wow, that's pretty wild. All right, yeah, well, that works.
That's a good way of get the birds get fed and the body gets got rid of. So that's all good.
That's the natural way of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Got a question from someone in chat. Werewolf by Lunchtime. He asked if you know J.A. Hynek. I've no idea. Is that something to do? Is he a religious writer or something? Have you heard of him?
I'm not familiar with him. No.
Okay, I never heard of him either, but I thought maybe you might. It was during the point where we were talking about the religion and not lack of belief in that. So, what about local bands in Florida? Local bands on your scene? Are there like new bands like yourselves who are coming out there now? Is it really power? A lot of bands. Is it good scene basically? Is it a good scene or is it a bit dead there? How is it at the moment?
I think like everywhere. I mean, it's I mean, there's upsides. Another band that's doing really well. Also from our scene. They were under themselves in Europe last December. Psycho Tribe.
Right.
I know they're working with David Ellefson from Megadeth. They're on his record label.
Right.
And they're doing really great things. Eyes Beneath the Sky, which is actually a band we played with them last month here locally. They opened for us, and they got some really cool stuff. They're new, they're young, but I think in time they'll develop and really become something.
Okay. Right. How is I mean, how long have you been in band? When was your first band? Where does your history go back? How far back?
Me? Oh boy.
Yeah.
25 years ago, in the early 90s, I was in my first death metal band called Genocide.
Right.
We did a small album, about 8 songs. It went on cassette tape. Yes, cassette tape, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Way before even email and the internet, of course. We did a little touring throughout the Midwest. It didn't last very long, but it was a really good experience. And then I was without a band for a little while, and then I started in a cover band that I had. I lived in the Orlando area at the time, and I had a cover band called Metamorphosis. And the reason why I got in the cover band is because there was really like only one club that would allow you to play original metal in the whole town, and to find other metal musicians actually was really difficult at the time. Grunge was the big popular thing. Everybody wanted to do, everybody was doing that. Of course, the Orlando scene's a little different. Yeah, exactly. I see the face bump. I hear you there. But the Orlando music scene at the time very different from Tampa. Tampa was still really beholden to be the traditional metal city that it became. Where Orlando kind of, I would say, chases the popularity tail. What I found really funny was so many bands were like trying to be Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and those bands for a long time, wearing flannel and everything. And then all of a sudden Korn came out. That first album came out and it got really big. And those same bands about a month later, all of a sudden were in Adidas tracksuits. They cornrowed their hair and they're playing Ibanez 7 strings. Trying to do that. And the guy that was trying to sing like Eddie Vedder the month before is now trying to rap.
Yeah. That's the worst thing.
There was a lot of bands that were doing that. It was, it was really ridiculous.
Yeah. Bands who play flavor of the month metal always just get on my tits.
Yeah.
Or sell out whatever to, just be with the most current trend kind of thing. So like 25 years like doing bands, how would you say the change of technology has affected? Is it all positive? What do you think of some of the positive and negatives of doing a band 25 years ago and doing a band now with regards to social media and technology and that?
As far as the ability to being discovered, and getting out there, and like I said, like 25 years ago, I don't think we would ever have really, you being in the UK and me being in the States, I don't think we would be having this moment right now. You wouldn't have heard of us, and we wouldn't have known of each other, or any of the other shows. So as far as like getting connections and getting your music out there, of course, it's considerably better. As far as recording goes, I mean, recording is so, when I first started out, it was still reel to reel, all analog tape and very expensive. Pro Tools and Cubase, has really made it a lot easier to do quality recordings and quality stuff for those who have the patience to work with those programs. I, for one, don't. That's why I use a producer. But I mean, for those who do, you know, it's been a lot better. That's the positive. The negative is basically making a, you know, being able to make a living at this. I would say when I was in my cover band, for example, I mean, you know, we were a house band at a local club in Orlando. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but it was called Rumors. It was near where the university was, Central Florida. And that was our regular Friday night gig. We played 4 sets there of covers like every Friday night. And then we'd pick up a Saturday gig somewhere. And basically, like between those, you know, I would get $500 a night. Each member of the band would. Now you're lucky if you can get $200 a night for the whole band for all 4 sets.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think it was easier then to get money. I mean, my very, you know, even that small tour that I did in my very first band, Genocide, you know, when I was 18 years old, you know, I mean, you know, getting a club to give you, you know, $250 or $300, you know, was not even an argument. Now it feels like I have to hold a gun to a guy's head just to be able to get, you know, gas money to get to the next city. That's at times. I mean, it's for us, it's gotten better, but I mean, that's how it was for such a long time. So I would say the economics of it has gotten worse, although the connectivity has gotten better, you know, so. Yeah, it's give or take.
There's definitely pros and cons. I got the kind of feeling that it's double-edged sword. Like it's good that you can get your name out to so many people and spread it so far, but there's so many bands who've got the same tools that it's harder to get noticed now. Have you got any sort of strategies for making people notice your band above all the others that are out there? I mean, where do you do your social media? How is it the whole band involved in spreading the word, or is it just all on your shoulders?
Mostly it's on my shoulders, but that's okay. Yeah, as far as the social media, I mean, I hire PR people. You know, I work with a few different PR agencies. Luckily, they don't break me financially, but they're all very good. Kabar PR, which is based over in Asia and Bangladesh, and yeah, he does an incredible job with metal bands and has gotten us into a lot of places, especially with the EP. Against PR, Katya, she's over in Spain. You know, and she's really helped. The label has hooked us up with Ground Zero PR, also in Europe, and then I work with Metal Coffee right here in the States and North America. I got that. Yeah, when I do a Facebook post, you know, or an Instagram post, yeah, I pay the couple of dollars for advertising.
Right.
You know, I mean, it does make a difference. You know, I do a Facebook post to promote something and I don't put any funds behind it. And, you know, I may get, you know, 50, 60 likes, you know, at best. And we got almost 13,000 people following us, but I go ahead and pay, you know, $8, $9 to market it, you know, and I'm getting, you know, and I'm getting I'm getting reached by 14, 15,000 people and 600, 700 likes, you know, people that are noticing it that I can communicate with. So yeah, I put some money behind I put a little bit of money behind the postings and things like that.
Yeah, that's the trouble. It always comes down to money, doesn't it? And you don't get so much money back. If you put money in, obviously you can spread the word out far and wide, but it's hard to actually plow some money back into the coffers.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, exactly. But you know, I mean, that's the way to go. Like I said, you know, I mean, I think in my city alone, we probably have about like 100 metal bands easy, you know, and you know, not only, I mean, that's just my city, not including the entire United States, not including Europe, not including everything else. So, you know, I mean, you do PR, you know, PR, people don't do PR out of the goodness of their heart, you know, or they don't do PR based on percentage. They do it because it's their profession and they got to get paid. And, you know, and if you know, have these people work for you, yeah, you got to pay them some. Now, I mean, I'll admit there's some that are just absolute thieves, you know. That is true, but you know, and I'll admit, over the 25 years, I've made that mistake numerous times of giving my money to the wrong people and have been robbed. But but luckily, like the companies that I've mentioned, if anybody's a musician or anything and is looking for PR, we have worked with those people for all those 3 organizations for 5 years. They're fantastic. They don't cost a lot in the grand scheme of things, so definitely get in touch with them.
I suppose you've got to put money in it to get some bands will just like don't put any money in it. They're just doing it for the fun of it kind of thing. If you want to be like serious, if you want to be, that's fine too. That's what I did with my band. Never paid anything for it, but we just played small gigs and we were happy just to do that. But if you want to sort of seriously get somewhere, then you have to put money in to get noticed, I suppose.
Well, most definitely. I mean, honestly, it was through my PR company that I knew about you, and we got connected to do the show together.
Yeah.
So that's how. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, it's true. Got a question from Werewolf by Lunchtime again. Do you think metal would have a larger following if social media didn't exist? I don't see how, but what do you think on that question?
If social media didn't exist,
would metal have a larger following?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think back in the past, like prior to social media. And yeah, I mean, I would say, but before MySpace and all that, I mean, there were a lot of incredible festivals that did really well, based on magazines. The Metal Maniacs, Metal Hammer and Keurig in your country. Rip magazine was a big one in mine. Metal Ed. I don't know. I don't know if it would have a bigger following. The one thing I will comment though, kind of based on that, it's because since everybody is kind of their own journalist in a way nowadays with social media and be able to blog and to put a comment in there. I think it would be a lot less negativity on the bands, a lot less infighting. The one I think is the biggest problem in metal music is that people really subjugate themselves to a subgenre, and anything that is not that subgenre is not metal music. I feel we have a hard time with unity on the scene, and we do attack each other a bit too much on social media. Where pre-social media, we didn't really have those attacks. If you didn't like the band, you just didn't like the band. But but nowadays, I mean, a band can come out with a new album, and there'll be people that'll love it, and there'll be people that'll hate it, and the people that love it are going to fight with the people that hate it, and it blows up into this whole thing that I think is very unproductive for music as a whole. With us, where I don't see as much as say in the pop genres, or too much, or the R&B and hip hop genres as much. I'm not saying it doesn't. Of course it does, but I don't think to that extreme. Either that, or they have so much money on the business side of things that they're able to quash any negativity whatsoever from it really hitting big media.
It does seem to be a thing in metal that people are quick to jump on a band and sort of throw hate on them. And also back in the day, if you didn't like a band, you'd tell your mates. There'd be like 3 or 4 people you'd tell. But now you can like post it on forums all over the place, can't you? If you're really feeling vitriolic enough, and that can have a negative effect on band sales. And that if like one person and everyone starts saying, "Oh, I don't like it," and they sort of spread the word. And if I read a review from someone saying, "Oh, this is rubbish," you might be inclined not to bother with it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're dead on that for sure. Also, I think that's become really toxic as well, lately. And I mean, from what I gather from the BBC in your country as well, the same way is that how everything, even metal music in a lot of ways has become really politicized. And if I stay away from it. Very much so. I don't post my political thoughts on everything. In my opinion, my thinking is that I have my own thoughts, on those things. It doesn't need to be anybody's business, I mean, and I go vote my way, and that's that. But like if a musician, for example, like the Black Lives Matter movement here, like a musician comes out in support of Black Lives Matter, all of a sudden he's getting hammered by tens of thousands of people that are completely on the other side of the issue, that thinks it's a terrorist organization and da 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 da. And then
Yeah.
and some of those people are it's not like they're like outsiders. Some of them are fans of the band that are liking on their Facebook page. It's I remember a while ago during the Democratic primaries in my country, one of the guitar players from Suicide Silence came out for Bernie Sanders,
Uh,
and all of a sudden, like, the likes just dropped, you know,
and then
over not because of the music or anything the band did or anything like that. He just expressed a political thought, and the opposition just ran right out the door with it, and that I think is pretty toxic.
yeah, it just seems to be very like polarized at the moment, doesn't it? Like you can't have like a views in the middle or whatever. Like it's like you express an opinion and you're gonna get pile drive by people, and like you say, people are gonna leave in droves, or they'll say things like, "You shouldn't have an opinion. You're a musician. Shut your mouth and just play the music."
Yeah, and I've been told that, and I didn't even state anything political.
And another thing that's changed, I don't know if you was ever involved in this, like back in the day, but tape trading used to be a massive thing for getting bands known.
Yes.
It's kind of sad.
That was a wonderful thing. Yeah, I know. Pen bangers. I remember that in the Metal Maniac section.
Yeah.
You have your name and your address, and you list the bands you're into, and someone will send you a tape, and you make a tape or whatever. And sometimes you get a tape that's obviously been copied about 10 to 15 times. A copy of a copy of a copy. That was pre-internet. It was wonderful. I participated in that.
Yeah, I did a fair bit. I did so much tape trading, I couldn't even listen to them all. I was sending, then I couldn't find the tapes to trade them for somebody else. Like there was so much. A lot of these sort of big bands, like who come from nowhere, started tape trading. What's got them there? Like like Celtic Frost, they did a lot with their first. What was the band before they were Celtic Frost? I can't believe. Brain's gone dead. But they stuff got traded loads, and they got huge off of that kind of thing.
Hellhammer, I think.
Hellhammer, yeah. There's so many bands like that kind of thing. But nowadays we've got crowdfunding. Is that something you've considered, getting people to pay for are you going to bring it out on vinyl? Is it just going to be CD only when it comes out, or will it have vinyl as well?
The label's just putting a CD and of course digital.
Yeah.
It would be cool to do vinyl. I can understand. Maybe in the future, depending on how the CDs sell, maybe they might want to do that. I know it's not cheap. I've looked into it myself. I mean, here in the States, it's $1,500 US just to have 300 vinyl. 300 to make 300 records. And then I'd have to be able to sell the record for $25 a piece. And can I move my record at $25? And no, so I know as much as I would love to, I know it's kind of a costly venture at this time for us.
You might end up with a few like frisbees that you can't get rid of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What about other merch? You've got other merch, like you've got t-shirts and all that available. We
do. We work with Redbubble. We have an online store. All kinds of stuff. Everything from t-shirts to sweatshirts and hoodies to bath curtains.
Bath curtains.
Yes. We have Blood of Angels bath curtains. You can have the big Blood of Angels logo in front of the shower. Yeah, it's wonderful. Or a bath mat. They have that options available. I go through it all. You never know what people would be interesed in.
Yeah.
But
order.
Exactly, but you can actually do your whole bedroom with a comforter and the bath stuff with Blood of Angels if you really wanted to.
If someone approached you at a gig and told you they had all the merchandise that's available, would you not feel a bit creeped out?
All the merchandise available? Oh,
yeah.
Well,
would you think, they're a super fan, or would you think, please don't leave me alone with this person?
No, I'd be very thankful because I appreciated the financial support, and that's probably why I can do the particular tour that I get to do at that moment, is because they decided, they're a super fan and they decided to do it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, depending on how crazy they are, I may sign a guitar for them. Just give them a guitar too. It's like, here, add this to your wall. Thank you. You know.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't mind those things. Honestly, I really appreciate it. I mean,
cool.
rare occasion, but when I do get it stopped for a picture, I love it. I
Yeah.
do. That's why I do. I do this. You have to when you do this. I mean, otherwise, why do it? And
Hmm.
you're gonna, I mean, that's one of the things. Just a side comment, just to bring it was one of the things I always found about like celebrities, like Hollywood celebrities. They work so hard and they do everything they can to be in front of the camera all the time, and then when they've made it, they're well known, like a Sandra Bullock or a Johnny Depp or something. Then they do everything they can to stay away from the tabloids and the paper. It's like,
Yeah.
why? It's like you work so hard to get the notice. Now that everyone cares about you, now you don't want them to notice you anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
tricky.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. So, so I'll just talk about it now. Let's think. I've gone through pretty much everything. Oh yeah, I need to get the link off you for your shop then, so I can put it in the blog post. Anyone's interested, all the links. There's a blog post down below in the description that will lead you to my blog, where I've got all the links for Blood of Angels. I've got a video in there you can watch as well. What about on your YouTube channel? I don't think I went on there. Have you got under 100 subs? Have you got how many subs you got on your YouTube now?
617, I think, somewhere around there, 617. Not a
Oh,
lot.
all right. Somebody else I must be looking at. So that's not. You're doing quite good on there then. Well, do you just? Yeah, because I think the video that I shared today had like 30,000 views or something. It had quite a lot of views, I think.
Was it?
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was sure. I'm working on other stuff as well, so it might be somebody else's. But I'm sure I had a look at one of yours, and
I
it
mean,
had like.
honestly, I haven't looked in a while, so I don't know.
Yeah. So
That would be nice.
what do you do with the YouTube? Do you do anything like guitar playthroughs, or do you have anything backstage kind of stuff, or is it just a few music videos up on there?
It's music videos. We got a couple of live shows that we have out there. We got our show from last year's Tampa Death Fest.
Right.
Yeah, we did that with Diabolic. That was really cool. Also a show we did up in Jacksonville, Florida, Jack Rabbits. Uh, Really great sounding venue. We were part of a little tour on that last November. Yeah, we got some music videos on there. We got some behind the scenes stuff. We're gonna with a new album. We're gonna put together some lyric videos. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a few production videos as well.
Yeah.
And one of them we're gonna get done together because we got a lot of video from but behind the scenes, the making of the album.
Yeah.
We're gonna, with our producer Preston DiCarlo, we're gonna do some individual interviews on how we feel about the songs and stuff, and kind of put together like maybe like a 1 hour documentary on how that album was done. We'll put that on YouTube and talk to Amazon, possibly about getting it streamed on Amazon Prime.
Right. So you do like a each song kind of going through it and breaking it down kind of thing.
Yeah. I really wanted to do it. Because I really feel like each of the songs really have a strong lyrical meaning, and everything. So I
Yeah.
really, just wanted something out there with the perspective of the band itself.
Mm. But you don't actually sing though, do you? So you've got an actual singer. How do they
Yeah.
feel singing? How do they feel singing your lyrics? Do they never come to you and say, well, "Why have I got to sing this? Can I not sing this instead?" Is there any kind of discussion about over the lyrics, or is it like, no, this is what the lyrics are? You sing this.
No, we've never had Randy and I, we never really had that conversation.
Yeah.
If anything, he'll add his own twists and inflection to things, or he'll format it maybe a little differently than I originally intended. Usually, it's better
Yeah.
than I originally intended. He puts his own personality into it. So yeah, we honestly we really haven't had that discussion.
But he never fancies doing his own lyrics or contributing towards the lyrics maybe for the next release.
Probably for the next one. Yeah. The thing is, when Randy came into the band, I already had this album done,
Right.
completely.
So
So,
you had
but
it all written before.
yeah.
Mm.
When he came into the band. So, but the next one, I'm sure he'll contribute some. We'll do some research together. There'll be the next album may not be so rigid, I would say, because this really was like my deep research, and and I really wanted to have historical accuracies and things like that, and not really open it up to too much like personal emotional interpretation and things like such like that. But with the next album and that concept idea, there'll be more room for that. Also my drummer does like a lot of industrial music as well. So and the next album we may be exploring a couple of songs, like doing it more, having a few like maybe an industrial black metal kind of style thing going, with like heavy tremolo picking and a serious backbeat, and again, I had a lot of this written before he came into the band and the idea what the album was going to be, but now, we're a really solidified unit, where, we're gonna, pull up a lot of their own individual talents. I would definitely be more prominent in the next one.
So there'll be different touches from the rest of the band members included on the next album, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Talking of lyrics, have you got a favorite song lyric wise, or a favorite particular lyric that when your guy sings it, it gives you like a little frisson of like, oh yeah, I'm glad I wrote that lyric. That's my favorite. Have you got anything like that?
Good question. Think about it. Yeah, usually when we're playing, it's I'm so focused on what I'm doing guitar wise that it's I hear his vocals, but I'm not really like focused on paying attention to
Yeah. What about on album though? When it comes on the album, when you're listening back to it, is there any sort of particular section where you go, oh yeah, this is really good, I love the way I've done that? I mean, do you rhyme them, or how do you break down your lyrics?
I really like the whole middle section, basically the mid section of the song "Disaster of Supremacy," because of all the other songs really kind of reference historical time periods, but that one's really about like how religious extremism and racial supremacy ideas are very much one and the same. And that whole breakdown in the middle, I would say, is lyrically is just I think really would connect home with a lot of people in this current time.
Can you quote them for us?
Shit, I wish I could. I wrote it, but I don't remember it.
You got your own lyrics.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
That's awesome. I've got a bit of a left field question here from Werewolf again. He wants to know if you're an Iggy Pop fan.
Yes.
Don't know how he got that from. Maybe we just guessed that, or it was just a random question. There's nothing in your background that says Iggy Pop that I can see, but
no, okay. Not really my musical influence, but it's the whole attitude of Iggy Pop. I'm a fan of a lot of other music that really just doesn't always just come out in the Blood of Angels sound, but just his performance, how he, no matter where he is, how big the show is, he can put and Bruce Dickinson, that's why I love Maiden too. He has this ability too. He can take everybody and put them right here in the palm of his hand. He can just grab, and everybody is hanging on to every single word, note that he sings. It's just, he just lets his heart go. He lets, the emotion out. And he just takes control of wherever he is, and that's just a really gifted performer. And and again, I love the songs and the lyric style of the fact that I don't think even though I guess it was rock and roll and they came out in that that 70 Detroit scene, around like MC5 a little later on, Alice Cooper, but the artists from that period of time and in that period in that area, in Detroit, just really did things their own way, with a reckless abandon. They didn't really care about the rules. They weren't really concerned about that. They just did things how they artistically saw that. And that's just something to be really commendable. And Iggy Pop is one of the best at that.
He says, I can always see a fan of raw power, is what he said in the description for that.
I would say that makes sense. That's cool.
Right, finally then, because we're coming up to the hour mark now, right, so someone's going to buy your album or go and check out your music. How would you describe your style, your melodic death metal, what it says? What band would you compare yourself to, particularly on this album? What can people expect if they go out and pick this up in October?
I'll say you'll hear some Iron Maiden. you'll hear elements of Cradle of Filth. I'm very much musically influenced by a lot of the Swedish Gothenburg bands of the 90s. Dark Tranquillity is one of my favorite bands. I feel they're a little bit underrated, but I love them. Amon Amarth I've been a long time fan, and heavily influenced In Flames and Arch Enemy, and a lot of the bands from that scene. Also locally, you'll definitely, I would say, you'd hear elements of Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel in the music itself. I mean, you bring up the label, the melodic death metal. It's really fun. It just depends on the listener and the critic, actually. I mean, the last review I saw called us melodic black metal. I've been called melodic death thrash metal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it seems like the term melodic seems to carry, no matter what the rest of the categories happen. So we call ourselves a metal band because I love Iron Maiden as much as I love Cannibal Corpse, as much as I love Immortal and Dimmu Borgir, as much as as much as I love Napalm Death and Carcass. And my whole thing is that, I mean, why just follow just one? Why not do one's best to bring it all together, and that's actually my ultimate artistic goal, is to really, bring as many of those influential styles together into one cohesive sound.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do.
I think there's a lot more bands doing that now. I think though with bands music, because you start fans of so many different sort of styles, so many different bands, that you might just throw everything into the melting pot and see what comes out as the end result. And like in some ways, like generalizing it or making it genres for everything is kind of pointless nowadays, because there's so many crossovers between, like you say, you can be thrash, black, death, all sort of thrown into one, can't you?
Exactly. Exactly. And and I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing for the genre. That's a great thing for the music.
Yeah.
I think we really do need to have, some sort of cohesiveness. I mean, I played a gig quite a few years ago. I was in Colorado, and I met someone after the show, and he was like, man, I really like your band, but I'm only really into melodic progressive post-hardcore. And I'm like, what is that? Melodic progressive post-hardcore.
I think you're breaking up a bit, mate.
Huh?
We've got problems. You've got problems from I think you broke up a bit there, Aaron. Are you all right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You got me?
Something's gone wrong. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
All right, you kind of broke up in the whole of that little sentence you were saying there. You sort of yeah. Do you want to say that again, what you were just saying?
No, what I was just saying is, a few years ago, we played a gig over in Denver, Colorado, and we met some of the people after the show, and they were like, "Man, I really love your band." I'm like,
"You broke up again, mate. You're freezing out. I don't know if it's my internet or your internet." We've done the hour mark now. We left to bring that.
Oh, now I lost you. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Should I start dancing? I don't know. I don't know if I'm even still streamed right now.
You still there?
Yes, I am.
I got kicked out. Maybe it's my internet that's messing up.
I saw you disappear. I'm like, okay, I'm here. Should I start dancing? I should go start entertaining now.
I hope you entertained everybody while I was away.
I was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yep, this is me, Mike.
Right. Before it goes fucked up again, just sign off. So tell people what you want to tell people, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay. All right. Well, we're Blood of Angels, based in Tampa, Florida, in the USA. Our new album is coming out, The Failure of Faith, October 6th, through Slip Trick Records. It'll be out digitally and CD, as many places as possible. You can find us on bloodofangels.net. That's our main website. Of course, you can also click on to the Blood of Angels store. We got merch there. We got links to the old EP. Also, you can find us on Facebook.com, Blood of Angels 1, Twitter.com, Blood of Angels 1 as well, Instagram.com, Blood of Angels, and YouTube.com, Blood of Angels. And we hope to connect with all of you, because that's really what it is. It's just a global community where we just want to connect with as many people as possible and share music and the love of metal.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll be playing you on my podcast on Sunday, tomorrow. So everyone check out my podcast, High Speed Hangover Podcast. I'll be playing Blood of Angels tomorrow. There's a link down below to my blog where all the links that you just said should all be in there. But if you want to double check them, let me know if there's any missing, and I'll add them to the blog post. And thanks for joining me. It's been fun.
Yes, it has been. Thank you so much for having me on. I've had a great time.
And when you get the next album out, we'll have another chat then, yeah?
That would be wonderful. I'd really appreciate that. That's awesome.
Cool. Let's just end the broadcast then.